and left there for Pearl Harbor. And all of my service was in the South Pacific, and I served on the Finback. And my only connection to fame is I was on the submarine that picked up George Bush when he was shot down in the Pacific.
I'm gonna go use the restroom, Boyd.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go use the restroom.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was on that submarine that picked him up. And we picked up 3 other fellows that were shot down besides George Bush, and you never hear nothing about them. But we heard a lot about George Bush because he got to be president.
Yeah.
And, I never paid much attention to him, but if I'd known he was going to be president,
You would have paid more attention, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I talked to some fellows that did some work on my house there, and I told them about picking up George Bush in the Pacific. He said, "I wish you'd just left him there."
Well,
I guess he was no fan of George Bush.
well, the Finback did not get to Pearl Harbor until after Pearl Harbor was bombed.
I don't know about that. I don't know how long it had been going before I got it. Must have got it in 1940.
I looked up the Finback on the computer, and it said that it was built in 41 and was on its way to Honolulu when the Japanese struck.
Is that right?
And it didn't get there until afterwards. And you said that.
Well, I didn't get assigned to it till it had already been there. It had probably made a patrol or two, war patrol or two before I got on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I got on it.
Was that? Do you know? Is that what they call a fleet type submarine? Most of them, and all of them new in World War II were what they call fleet type submarines, but I didn't know whether this was or not.
I don't know whether they called it that or not, but I know we were set up to attack. It had 6 port torpedoes, tubes in the front and 4 in the back, and we carried a spare for each one of them. And I guess that was an attack submarine because we made patrols and attacks in them, in the Finback. I don't know what happened to Finback. I'm not computer literate. Can you get on the computer and find things out?
I have a computer, and I cannot claim to be computer literate, but I can do some things with it.
I'm about that way. I can't do what you just said, look up something like that. I don't know how to do it.
Well, I was telling Luke about my experience on a submarine. I was on a submarine.
Is that right?
And my admiration for anyone on a submarine, and he said you had something to do with Morse code. Were you radio?
Radio operator.
Radio operator.
I copied the Morse code. Of course, that's all out now. You know what? The Morse code was all we had then, but now, hell, we used to send time signals to the conning tower so they could take a fix on where we are. Now with these satellites and everything, well, they don't need that anymore. They know exactly where they are.
They know where you are too.
Back then, we had had a chronometer, and we'd get a time signal out of the Naval Observatory in Washington, and I'd send a time signal to the conning tower, and they would correct their chronometer down to the split second. That was I don't know how to take a fix on the North Star and find your position, but they knew how. But you got to have the exact time if you're going to get the right position that you take that fix on the North Star. How'd you wind up on a submarine?
I was flew B-25s. That's a twin-engine, twin-tailed medium bomber. Ours were attack bombers.
Yeah.
And we did recon bomb combined type work. And on April the 20th, 1945, we were just a squadron. We weren't a large group of planes. And our squadron commander got a request from the Navy for a pilot to volunteer to go on a submarine as a member of the crew for a special assignment. That's all we knew. I was co-pilot on a crew. The commander on the 21st of April asked the pilot of our crew, would he do it? And he agreed to go. On the 21st, and the squadron leader sent everything to the Navy so they'd know what to expect. On the 22nd, that was the 21st, on the 22nd, our pilot decided he didn't really want to do that. So the commander asked me, would I volunteer? And I was young and stupid and said, yes, sir. And I had to be there on the 23rd, the next day. He had to get all the change information through, and I had to do whatever I had to do before I left early on the morning of the 23rd to get to the sub. And I had a girlfriend at home. For 3 years, we exchanged letters on an approximately daily basis. And I wrote my parents pretty good, too. And I wrote my girlfriend's older sister had married a young man who went into the Air Force, and in the early part of the year, he was missing in action. Well, I'm going ahead of myself. But he was over in India, Burma, and left his wife expecting a child. And I ferried a B-25 from Savannah, Georgia to New Guinea in the Philippines. And midway in that transition, I got word that the baby had been born. And when I got there, I got word that he was missing in action, which proved to be the end for him. So, I don't know, I got off track there. You want to know how I got there. But I wrote, I was going to be gone for supposedly 5 or 6 weeks on this submarine. Didn't know what I was going to be doing. And I wrote my girlfriend a letter on the 22nd, the day that the decision was made, and told her, don't look for any more letters from me for at least 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because that's why I was telling you about my
You wrote her
brother-in-law, because I knew that if the letters stopped, she and my family would be quite disturbed.
Yeah.
And if they didn't hear anything, they would even be more disturbed. And so I first told her I couldn't tell her it was a secret, top secret, and I couldn't tell her, but I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
But
what submarine did you?
I went on the Char, USS Char, Charr. At that time, I didn't know what submarine. But anyway.
Well, they used to name them all after fish, but now they name them after cities and everything else.
Yes, but then everything was on the fish.
Yeah.
But on the
chart.
23rd of April, on the 20th of April, I wrote a letter telling her what I had just been doing, and I had no idea then. And somewhere else on here is a letter, a copy of a letter that I wrote on the 23rd. And I had left very early that morning, before anybody else was up in camp, to get to the submarine. And I had told her, I had decided I was going to tell her I was going on a sub and don't let anybody know. Or we might both be in jail.
Was that in Pearl Harbor, or where was it? Where was the sub?
In Subic Bay.
Subic Bay.
Subic Bay, out of Manila.
Yeah.
And I in the letter, I won't try to pull it up. I just read it a little while ago. I said that I was on my way, and I was going to land at the airport at Manila there, and then I had to get somehow to the submarine tender in Subic Bay. I don't know how I did it. I know that they put me on a seaplane and flew me over to the tender. And I got there on the 23rd. I was supposed to report in at 5 o'clock, and I made it.
You spent 6 weeks, you say, on that sub?
Well, I literally I was on 2nd War Patrol, Part 2. They had been out on a regular war patrol and had sunk a destroyer, and some merchant ship had come back for some torpedoes and minor repairs, and that's when their mission got changed.
Yeah.
And the reason I was there, I found out, was they were working on their air-sea rescue and standby program, which I know you did some of.
Yeah.
And they wanted somebody from the Air Force along there to work together.
Yeah.
And so now you will recognize that when we were on that duty, I was the go-between between the radio shack 2 levels down and the skipper on deck. When we were had some activity.
Yeah.
We'd be in touch with some airplane circling overhead or something like that. And in my letters, I maintain this letter writing like a diary on this submarine. I would write, well, first of all, they put me on decoding. So the radio man every night would get the messages in, and I would get a section of it which pertained to the rescue program.
Uh-huh.
lifeguard and rescue.